they have a tone that the big amps don't have.
Yes.
So I've got a couple of models of to try and get more of the tone of the little amps, but louder, so that you can.
And how do you do that?
Well, with these you can make them. These are Class A amps, so they've got one valve in the output. The output section is only one valve, which is about 5 watts, which is fine for practicing at home. But you can make that exactly the same circuit, but with 2 valves in parallel. So it's like just having another amp, but in the same box.
Is that when you can add the mythical 11?
Yeah, you can, and because they're in parallel, it's still a Class A amp, but it's 10 watts instead of 5. So
fantastic. And what sorts of things do people come along asking for?
Sometimes it's things like that people want the sound of one amp, but louder or quieter sometimes.
What's the most interesting or odd thing that anyone's asked for?
I don't know.
Has anyone asked for the 11?
Well, there are. I mean, some people want what's impossible. They want the sound of every amp in one. Little switches and things to change it into a Vox or a Marshall or a Fender or which there are now digital amps that claim to be able to do that, but you can't really do it with a valve amp.
No, you can't change the characteristics when.
No, because you need different transformers and so I try and sell people 4 different amps.
Yeah, well, that's the only way of doing it. So
that's why.
Yeah, I can sort you out there.
Yeah.
And of course, the ones that you build from scratch, of course, you're building in those styles of those classic amps. Is there one that you've built that's very much your unique thing? Apart from just trying to boost up the sound by doubling it, is there one which has characteristics?
Yeah, there are some which are where I've got things from aspects from different amps and sort of put my own recipe together, But the thing is that different amps are not very different from each other. They're only little different.
So what's the difference between a Vox? Just quickly on this, and then we'll get away from it. But you've got a Vox and you've got a Fender. What are the differences?
Well, with a 50s Fender and a 60s Vox, there's not a lot of difference. But it's just,
but there is a difference. So where's that coming?
Well, the speakers are different brand, and the transformers are different. The Vox circuit is a bit more complicated, but the output, the sort of building blocks it's made of are the same, really. It's just they have different styles, I guess. Fender tends to be simpler, which is always simpler is better in electronics. But it also tends to have higher voltages than a lot of, which is not not always such a good thing. But yeah, a lot of the Fender wanted to have a range of models, like a stepping stone thing. So in the catalogue, you could go choose, So the prices.
It's one for your budget.
Yeah, and the steps are quite close together, and whereas some other companies wouldn't have as many models, or they'd have 2 very far apart. So some of the Fender, like the difference between a Champ and a Princeton was the Princeton had a tone knob on it, but everything else is exactly the same.
Yes. What was the difference in price?
not
Not
much,
great because you're talking
but-
about those small step
Yeah,
knobs. Yeah,
but it was. People think of it as a completely different amp, but it's exactly the same circuit.
an extra button.
Yeah.
Or an extra knob. And so, what's the perfect? What have you found? And how long did that process take of finding your perfect amp for your sound?
Well, my favourite amp is a deluxe 50s deluxe, which is a 5E3.
All of I miss loving. All the kiss I miss kissing.